Very good.
How's
Well,
everything in your world this week? Anything exciting going on?
yeah. So we're just now starting to stream on YouTube and LinkedIn. So I'm going to apologize. I had a glitch there, but my name is Kyle. I'm with FranNet. This is Jake. We're the Founders Way. We're here on episode number 25. And this week I've been, working a lot on marketing. I'm learning a lot about marketing. So one of the things that I love about,
You've done that. You've done this for years. So when you say you're working a lot on marketing, are you you're taking a new approach? You're doing different kind of outreach.
yeah, I'm taking a deeper dive into things that I already knew that had to happen, but I didn't really know how to do them. And so I'm learning a little bit more about that. So I'm taking some new approaches. I'm exploring some novel ways I'm always just learning. And I think that's what I really love about entrepreneurship is that there's so much that you could know. There's always something new you can explore with the goal of developing a business. So I'm in learn mode right now, and it's been pretty challenging and feeling good about it.
I think that's a key point about marketing. I mean, there's so many marketing efforts that don't work, don't fall flat, or it's just unclear what they're doing. And so, continuing to hone your message, try new messages, do some A/B testing, and trying different routes to the market.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what I've been learning about today. So all of this week. And thinking about scaling too. So that's always on my mind. That's always part of franchising too, is building to scale.
How does that how does that work in your space when you have people come to you, you help them find a franchise, and uh, I had a good friend who asked me like, what if it works out? What if it's successful? And so for those people that you work with, Kyle, that like then have some success, what are some of the pains they face when they scale, or how do you help them when they start to scale their businesses?
Well, scalability has a lot to do with not having the owner of the business themselves be a bottleneck. And so I think that, as a CEO of a small business, finding a way to make yourself somewhat irrelevant to the process is a win because that means you can hire people to scale. But that's the biggest challenge, I think, right now. I think that the thing that keeps a lot of people on the sidelines is the difficulty in hiring the right people. And it's nothing new. In franchising, scalability is, I think, a touted benefit of that business style. And people scale by adding territories, by adding locations, and following a model of open up a new location, hire a manager, start to hire employees, get that thing to profitability, and then start breaking ground on the next one and just keep stamping them out over time. I think that's the way people tend to approach it in franchising.
See, it seems like really simple but valuable advice, right? Get out of your own way. Make sure that you, as a leader, are not in the way of progress. And I've actually spoken to a few founders who spoke of the relief they had when they were killing themselves. They were trying to do everything in the business, and when they finally reached a space where they could hire that kind of either first employee or first employee that really helped them take some kind of a load off with back office, that they just felt so free. Like suddenly they had time to focus on sales, or they had time to focus on processes, and it was a very freeing kind of moment in their journey.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get to the point where you can actually work on the important non-urgent stuff. The big strategy things versus having to deal with putting out one fire after the next, right? uh, Urgency is the definitely a buzzkill when you have to deal with fires. But it's like you said, easy to say, not so easy to do. And
Easy to say, very simple advice, right? Get the help you need so you can focus on what's important. And one of people's biggest failing points and biggest struggles, and it's a struggle for me as well, particularly as an early stage startup, we don't have a ton of cash in the bank just to hire people full time, and finding good people that can help in the right way is very, very difficult.
yeah, money is the fuel for scalability, and sometimes we necessarily get in our own way because We're the only ones that work for free. Everybody else requires
Yeah,
money.
but time costs money, so it's not exactly free, but
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we always like to engage with our audience. We're still feeling out how best we can engage with LinkedIn in the background. I think we actually had a question at some point during the week from a young entrepreneur
Yes.
named Nalay Yadav, who I believe is in the audience today. And Nalay is a young guy who's 16, who's building an app that I'm going to let Kyle introduce. And he had some questions for us. So what is this app all about, Kyle? Do you know?
Well, it looks like this is an app that is designed to allow people who want to communicate. I think the biggest use case is, if you have like a child that's lost in the city, um, that there's an app you can give a 4-digit ID to someone and they can connect to their parents, and it's easy to remember that 4-digit ID. So it's almost like a key for an app. They can put it on any other device that maybe they borrow temporarily for a few minutes from somebody so that they can get in contact with the person they're trying to get in contact with. So I think the use cases that he had mentioned was, a kid lost in the city can give a 4-digit ID to somebody who can connect to his parents. 4 digits is good because that's easy to remember. Um, if you went on a date um, and you don't remember your number, you could give it the ID. I think the point is that, if you lose a device, if you lose a phone number, this app can allow you to get to an instant sort of communication without like being intrusive on somebody's device that you're borrowing. So, um,
I mean, it sounds like a good idea to me, just off the top of my head. I don't particularly have a use case for it, but I do have two young kids, and particularly if I was going to an event or another location, it would be great to know that they could always find a way back to me if they needed to, as a little additional piece of security. Because I think, as we all know, people don't know phone numbers like they used to.
yeah, I can't even remember my partner's phone number.
When we were younger, you had to know everyone's number, and you would call them so much you would remember. But now everyone stores them in their phone.
Yep.
Um, I call my wife 10 times a day, but I couldn't begin to tell you her number
Yeah.
past the first
Yep.
digits.
I think my son's phone number is the only one that I have memorized now. Just because, you know, I'm never gonna forget that one. um, but yeah, so I mean, that's part of it is that, you might not know the phone number, but you've got a shorter ID. You might have lost your phone, but you've found, some Samaritan who's willing to let you borrow theirs, but you don't know your partner's number, because that's an issue, right? Um,
It seems like I don't know how much of a problem it is for people. So there's a big question there. Obviously, he's a young guy. He still needs to get to a place where there's a product market fit. How do you test the market for something like that? Seems like it could be a challenge. But just off the top of my head, it seems helpful, particularly in a day and age when people have so many different devices that they're moving to, right? Like, you may be on your phone or a tablet or your computer. And so if you had kind of a central way that you could stay connected to people, seems like it would add a convenience.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like this is really interesting if you needed to use a sort of public or device that whose security is not known, and it's sort of a one-time throwaway, and then you're done, right? I think that the developer of this idea is gone down the road a little bit to develop it. He's 16 years old, I think. I think one of the questions was, is it feasible to start a business when you're 16? And I think emphatically, yes, it is. No problem there. The biggest problem is validating the idea. And this is a chicken or egg problem that's classic, especially with software, is people build better mousetraps all the time. That doesn't mean that, people are going to stumble over themselves to start using it. But I think that if you do a minimum viable product, MVP, a minimum viable product, get a straw man that's up and working with the most basic functionality, and find somebody who's willing to test it with you and willing to actually use it. I think that's the, if you were looking for advice on that, that was the first thing that I would do is, if you've got the development skills, build it up, just get something out there that barely works and, start using it with your friends and get feedback and go from there.
That would be that would actually be really cool for a young guy, for a way to test, is to just get it out with your friends. But the bigger question in there is, how does he get it out? Now, I'm really impressed with a young guy at 16 who's thinking along these lines, identified a problem, is trying to find a fix. He says he's built the project about 30%, which indicates to me he's capable of doing some level of coding. Um, but there may be a big leap to get to from 30% to 80%. And I'm just throwing that number out there loosely as potentially, when are you at an MVP kind of usable state?
Yeah, it's tough to say. And that's where, feedback from people whose opinions you respect or who might be potential users of the system is pretty important. And it can't be just everybody that knows you too. At some point you need to start talking to people who are, you know, uh, they don't know you from Adam, but you want to give them an app to try out.
Well, the
I,
book that's most commonly recommended, and it'd be great for someone of his age to get into it if he's going to start solving problems, is the Mom Test.
the mom test. What's that?
Have you read that one?
No.
So I forget who the author is, but the Mom Test is about what you were just saying. Like, if you ask your mom for advice, she's always going to want to support you and be nice. And so
Yeah.
the Mom Test, the book, is all about how do you test in a way that you can cut through the people that are just trying to be nice and supportive of you, but also how do you test a product in a way that's meaningful and in a way that you can really get valuable data and information. So the Mom Test is a phenomenal book if you're kind of facing that kind of a challenge.
Yeah, interesting. I'll have to test that on my mom sometime.
So I highly recommend that book, and that might be a good one to recommend to Nile. Anyone who's watching on Reddit or on Facebook, unfortunately, we can't engage with Facebook comments in live time yet. We're trying to figure that out. But if you want to add comments, we'll get back to them later on. If you have any feedback for Nile or thoughts on his product. And Kyle, any more thoughts on what should he do? What advice would you give a young guy who's at 30%, thinks he has a good idea? What should he do next?
Well, keep building. And don't try to boil the ocean. Just build like the central component and then sit back and wait. Or, not sit back and wait. Then get it out to people that can test your component and give you feedback. And that's when you sit back and wait and bug them. I'm gonna give points, brownie points to Nile for being persistent. He's bombed my inbox, and so what I would encourage you to do is take that persistence and direct it towards people that are actually going to use your product as a test audience.
I think that's great advice, is keep building. I would give two pieces of advice. If you have the wherewithal to code this out and you have the time, you're a young person, you got time after school, keep building until you can get to a place of usability. Another common option is to build mockups. It can be a lot faster. It doesn't have to be workable. You can build like clickable mockups, and that is another way to take the next level to testing without fully building something that you're not sure is going to be a product people are going to use, so that you don't waste that time. That way you get it in front of people. Do you like the usability? Do you like the product? Would you use it? And that could potentially be a route forward as well in a way.
Yeah, I like the mockups idea. You can make screenshots out of nothing, with Photoshop.
Yeah, there's more opportunity today to build products than ever before. You don't have to be a full programmer. There's plenty of drag and drop products out there to build apps, or just to build mockups. You really can build a clickable if you can code 30% of a working app, you can definitely find some products that will allow you to do some clickable prototypes.
That's what I love about the entrepreneurial environment today, is that there's so many opportunities to build things from scratch. And so there's the barriers to entry are low. Somebody could come along and do this. And the only thing that's separating, you as an entrepreneur from anybody else that could do what you do is the fact that they actually went out and did it. So
Hard work,
execution
hard work.
matters.
A lot of people find problems. Not as many people go after it,
Yes.
and execution to me is the third point.
Yeah.
And not everyone that goes after it can really
Ideas are
execute.
interesting but cheap. Execution is everything.
The other thing is for someone who's 16, like, a big part of entrepreneurship is failure.
Yeah.
So if this is your first failure, you are going to learn so much at your age about how to make your next idea not a failure. So that alone is a very good reason for a young person to really
Yeah.
go after it.
We're rooting for you, but don't be afraid to fail.
Um, and are you still active with the generator business? What's going on?
Oh, I'm actually yeah, I'm that's slowly coming together. I'm working through running multiple businesses at the same time. So, as you can imagine, sometimes I'm kind of pushing 8 balls forward at once. That said, I
Not
think I've got my, I realize that one generator doesn't make a business, right? So I got my eye on a second generator that's actually, the auction is ending on it this afternoon. So, and it's a little more useful than the one that I've got. So, but yeah, I'm pushing forward with it in earnest. It's still sitting in my front yard. My neighbors are not happy, but I found a home for it finally, and so I'm going to get it over there.
not
And
not only are we podcasters, but we're both entrepreneurs. We're both on the journey. We're on the founder's journey, and Kyle is working on a project with solar generators, and I think it's a phenomenal idea. Here at Amplify, helping people with their carbon footprint is important to us as well. So we've partnered with One Tree Planted, and
ah,
we're doing two things. One, every time we do an equipment finance lease, we're contributing to that project to reduce the carbon footprint. But we're also offering opportunities to other people to contribute to that, so small businesses can help to reduce their carbon footprint as well.
amazing. Well, and that is one of the big impetuses for me even getting into that business as well, is saving money and helping the environment at the same time. It just makes sense, right? People should be
And
doing it.
helping people with an inconsistent electrical grid and
Yeah, that too.
energy.
And that's increasingly common, especially in Texas, where we have our freedom grid, which is a little janky.
All right, sir. Any other major topics that you want to cover off to today, Kyle?
There was something else that I was really spending a lot of time on this week. Was looking at other businesses that are online, that are monthly recurring revenue businesses. There's tons of them out there that can be bought and sold. It's really interesting. So I'm exploring that a little
What
bit too.
you're talking about? Uh, so two things. Are you talking? There's a marketplace of MMR businesses where people buy and sell the actual MMR businesses, or are you just intrigued by the MMR model, or both?
Both. I'm intrigued by it, and I think that, well, here's what it boils down to, right? I can take a certain amount of capital and I can put it in a stock market. I can put it in a dividend yielding thing. I can put it in a bond. Um, I could buy another piece of property but have a mortgage, or I can buy a business. And so I evaluate businesses as a return on investment, just like any other investment. And how much time does it take for me? And does it align with my values and my skills and my goals? And so that's what I've been doing. And I've been looking at the online model, because there are tons of businesses out there where your customer base could potentially be worldwide, and it allows you to get into really fine niches, right? Niches of subscription model apps, or content, or whatever that is, that's totally online. So I've been looking at some of these I guess these clearinghouses where you can buy and sell these types of businesses, and it's been really interesting to me lately.
That's really intriguing. I'll have to talk to you more about that offline. It's also MMR is of interest to me as well because we, as Amplify, are expanding. We are starting to support a broker market, and when we do so, we're probably going to go to work in more of a monthly revenue format. in offering our services to them. So
Hmm.
I'm starting to explore that space for our company as well as we continue to expand.
How do you think that's gonna work for you?
Technically, or how so?
Well, I mean, you're offering, I guess, a service that's on an ongoing basis. It's a very popular revenue model for really
So
obvious
our
reasons.
our
But
starting our
how would it
starting
work for?
go-to-market strategy was to work with small businesses that sell equipment so that they could offer a seamless experience to their buyers.
Hmm.
That's something that's been, very attractive to small businesses who haven't been provided with digital innovation. Um, and it's also something that small brokers don't have a lot of innovation as well. They're also small companies that are facilitating other small businesses with these transactions to buy equipment, and they could be benefiting from our platform as well. Um,
Hmm.
and so we have to charge them to use our products and get them out with their customers because it provides a convenience, saves hours and hours of time for brokers because we've automated a lot of the process that are most annoying to them. And we're exploring how we can either charge an upfront free fee or profit share or charge a monthly fee. And feedback from some of the brokers we've engaged with so far would be that they would rather pay some kind of a monthly option.
Hmm. Very interesting.
So we're
Huh.
considering to
So
explore that. Kyle, it has been great speaking with you this week.
yeah, likewise.
Always
Uh,
good to catch up. This is the Founders Way, live streaming out to Reddit, live streaming on LinkedIn, and we will be back at the same time, 12 Eastern, 11 Central, next week.
All right. Sounds good. See you, Jake. See you,
Appreciate
everyone.
your time, all our listeners. Catch you later on. Be sure to hit us with questions and any topics you might want us to cover.
Good to see you.